Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Day 2 of EXPO International 2025 and welcome to the Idea Hub, where innovation takes center stage. I hope you had a blast last night at our night party and you still have enough energy for today's power-packed sessions because we got an exciting lineup ahead. Let's kick off with a hot topic that blends speed, tech, and compliance. Kill Bill, can payments keep up with the regulation? Please join me in welcoming to the stage Abiola Giwa, Sales and Partnership Lead Forex Business at Corapay, who will guide us through this session. Abiola, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to our session today. Kill Bill, can payments keep up regulation? As the payment industry continues to grow, we have seen rapid changes across multiple markets in the UK and the EU and shifts in the frameworks in the UAE. Today, I'm joined by an incredible panel of experts who are going to discuss how to navigate these situations. And it's good to know we have quite a number of PSPs and Forex businesses in the house as we all contribute today. I'd like to introduce my guest. Tim, please.
Hello, I'm Tim Furlan. I'm the CEO of Let No Pay, which is a proprietary crypto payment gateway solution which we offer very widely throughout the Forex industry. We provide merchants with a set accounts so that they can receive crypto payments from their customers while still receiving an exchange into euros or dollars so that they can run their fiat businesses. So that's our business.
Maggie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maggie. I'm part of the Visa Direct team. I cover clients in the UK and Ireland that aren't regulated as banks or EMIs. So obviously covers the CFD space and wealth techs as well. Visa Direct is it's not part of kind of Visa's kind of core card business. So a lot of people have asked us why we're here today. I think a lot of people just think of us as a card issuance company. But what we're really trying to showcase here today is that we cover so many other things that aren't just card issuance. So my part of Visa covers everything that's cross-border payments related. We can pay out funds to almost everywhere in the world across our cards, accounts, and wallets. So we're really trying to showcase what our capabilities are, which is
Anthony.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony. I head growth and strategic alliances at Virtual Pay International. So we are a global omni-channel processor that facilitates payments, especially in the Forex space, which is our specialty, across multiple channels: Visa, MasterCard, UnionPay, Amex, etc. And then, of course, the homestay of Africa Mobile Money, and alternative payment methods that are available in the Southern Africa, West Africa, and Latin America.
And that's amazing. Yeah. It's good we have all the introductions in, and I think it's time we get into the session. So I'm going to start with Tim. We're witnessing the most aggressive changes in global regulatory frameworks. How would you maintain agility with new product rollouts while keeping up with country-specific regulatory changes?
Well, it's definitely a challenge, especially in an environment where new regulations are being created and presented on a monthly or quarterly basis. You have to keep up with what the regulators want, but at the same time, we have to know what our customers need, and there's a fine balance that has to happen there. With the MiCA legislation in Europe specifically, it's a big challenge because in many countries it's not even fully ratified. So they've accepted that they're going to have the legislation, but the countries individually have not fully adopted that legislation and understand how to enforce it once it's ready.
Right.
So on that level, you can only just prepare, and have everything ready for submitting an application and then moving forward. We don't know yet in certain jurisdictions how they will enforce things and whether they will be very aggressive or if they will become more passive. Yeah. We don't know if that's going to affect the banking industry as well, because with crypto, for our specific situation, the banking industry has overall not been very supportive of crypto as a payment solution. And in that sense, we want to see that the banks will support this legislation as partners and not competitors.
Of course.
So that's my take on that.
Amazing. Anthony, what's your take on it based on what you've seen in some markets that you work in today?
Sorry?
What's your take on this based on what you've seen in some markets that you
Well, I
work
mean,
in?
he's right. First of all, it's a very fluid situation, and you have country-specific, region-specific, industry-specific, and merchant-specific regulations that actually continue morphing day to day.
Okay.
And what you want to do is maybe you want to try and stay compliance ahead and compliance ready, so that you are able to morph as they continue to morph. The industry, I'll say the industry in terms of payments, from crypto to even processing, is under constant attack. And these attacks are not, I don't call them unfair, because I think they're designed to protect the client, and protect the consumer. So I think we're seeing a lot of change in the industry across the globe, and we just want to try and stay ahead. And please be in the fold so that you're not left behind, because if you do not morph,
Of course, you get it.
you're left behind.
Right.
Yeah.
And Maggie, from your point of view, what do you think about this, what the changes? And I'm sure as acquirers and also as being into the business, you've seen this kind of changes. From your point of view, how do you think payments providers and forex brokers can navigate this situation?
Yeah, so I think on the regulation piece, obviously Visa is a massive global company. Ultimately, Visa does encourage and support regulation. I think one benefit to it is that it stops kind of the traditional incumbents, I suppose, from kind of owning the space, and it means that everyone has to constantly adapt, and it's quite democratic from that point, because banks and small fintechs all have to adhere to the same kind of regulations, especially in the payment space. So we always encourage it, and as you said, I think it always the reason behind regulation is to create good outcomes for consumers globally, which I think is a really positive thing. I think what we're seeing is absolutely there's a lot of these smaller fintechs that are coming to us, and they're saying, we want to go into this market, we want to do this, help us access this market. And a lot of the time we've got to really think, okay, do they have the right regulation to do that? And it is often an ongoing conversation you have to have early in the sales process. I think the benefit of definitely the team I'm in is that we have a really strong compliance and reg function that are able to kind of see very far forward and say, okay, what's coming next? But yeah, I appreciate it. It is a struggle for teams that are smaller than ours to say, okay, we've got to keep on top of all this stuff, especially if someone's based in 3 or 4 different regions.
I can imagine. Yeah. Those are very interesting takes, by the way. Tim, back to you. What global jurisdictions have you seen the most changes in recently? And what are the most aggressive shifts in these regulatory frameworks you've seen? 2024 was last year. There were quite a number of changes. But this year we're seeing quite a lot more, especially in the EU and the UK. What markets specifically in these geographical regions have you seen these aggressive changes in?
Well, I would say that prior to the MiCA legislation being launched and going through that process, there were very aggressive shifts in Estonia, Lithuania, and others where they seem to want to move away from providing crypto licenses and some EMI licenses and things like this. Now, under this new legislation, they are sort of welcoming it as a next step. Their aggressive stance and performance has put them in line for being the first ones to issue MiCA licenses. And of course, they're aggressive in marketing for EMI licenses and things like this. Latvia is one country I would bring out as a country that is forward-thinking in terms of their regulation. They've got their central bank and their legislation working together towards new payment solutions, including crypto. They've passed legislation so that the government can receive taxes in crypto and state fees in crypto and things like this. So those are I would say not aggressive, but they're forward-thinking and they're positive. The overall stance across the rest of the EU seems to be, let's see if we can get it done in time. The current deadline is the 30th of June to have everything ready and to start accepting applications, but most of these countries, as I was saying before, haven't fully ratified everything and come to the conclusion of how they're going to actually enforce it. So outside of the EU, there's countries like El Salvador who are very crypto friendly, and they have adopted Bitcoin as a legal tender. And they provide DASP licenses for companies, and they're very, again, forward-thinking and progressive in that way. But I wouldn't say that there's so many aggressive regulators out there. SciSec here in Cyprus was getting a little bit drawn out before, but they've kind of come around, and they're also working nicely towards that in a more cooperative way.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you. Maggie, so what are the key operational changes that Forex brokers and PSPs might face in adapting to EU's new regulations, especially the DORA regulation coming up? What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we obviously work with FX brokers and various wealth platforms that are operating across the European Union and the UK as well, which is the market that I cover. I think probably the most difficult thing is having, if you're based in one region and you've got a team there and you've got legal opinions and regulatory opinions on what's happening specifically in that market, but then you technically have the ability to operate across the EU, but maybe you don't have the language skills or the boots on the ground to say, what are we really doing from an operational perspective in this country that's next to us, but maybe has a completely different regulator or opinions on different things. I can't speak directly to the DORA regulation, but I think the regulations that have affected the most change for the business that I'm in is definitely consumer duty in the UK. That had a big impact and will continue to have a big impact on a lot of payment providers in the UK and beyond. But the really good thing is that we've seen all of our clients react really well to it and adapt their business and adapt the way that they are moving money. And we're obviously there just to support them in doing.
All right, thank you. In terms of compliance costs, Anthony, how do you evaluate the ROI in obtaining multiple licenses versus staying in the same jurisdiction with passporting rights?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Passporting is beautiful.
Yeah.
Passporting is an amazing thing, especially from the shareholder or stakeholder perspective. It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's easy to manage. You consolidate your operations and passport. But listen, you must have a very stable regime, domestic regime that can run that. Now, the downside of passporting is the radical changes. As I said, the industry is under a lot of attack.
Thanks.
So if you are passporting and something changes like that, you become high risk. Right?
Of course. Yes.
I mean, you're talking about maybe trying to passport an offshore license, and you make one mistake, and you're not audit ready, and you're not compliant, and everything changes. Now, multiple licenses, and I want to mention from personal experience what we do at Virtual Pay. It's slightly more expensive, not expensive in terms of financial, but expensive in terms of the resources that you attach towards each license. Licenses are not pieces of paper that you're given. They're regulations that you must stick by. They're cultures that you must imbibe.
Of course.
It's something that you must live. However, it gives you an advantage, especially if your compliance team and your leadership is compliant, coherent. It gives you an advantage of flexibility. It gives you an advantage of compliance and readiness towards the compliance of the specific region where you're in. We've spoken about DORA and MICA and the EU and the UK and all that. If you have a spread out, from a Forex perspective or a payment perspective, if you have a spread out infrastructure, then you're able to adapt to the local and maintain compliance and longevity, therefore.
Yeah.
And to be honest, for business continuity, if one does get sanctioned, your business doesn't die.
Yeah.
And you're trying to passport that one that you're holding. In my view, there must be that balance, but you must be coherent enough to manage the multiple licenses.
Perfect. Thank you. Tim, do you have any takes on this too?
Yeah, that was a beautiful description of it.
Of course it was.
That was very entertaining as well, which we wanted to have some fun here. Yeah, I mean, the idea of passporting, let's say, for example, Micah, again, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but the idea is to passport one license throughout the EU, but there's still no guarantee that every country will allow you, because there's registration requirements.
Definitely.
There's other requirements, and if somebody decides they're going to implement that in a slightly different way, then you may have to also change your whole structure versus having one license or in one place and others in other places. And yes, I agree, the resources are expensive because it's personnel, it's IT, it's everything else that you use to be compliant. So, yeah.
Right, thank you. What factors are driving payment firms and forex brokers to choose UAE over the traditional financial hubs? I think this is quite a dicey question, and it's something that a lot of people have thought about, and I'm sure the audience would like to know more about this.
Well, I don't have any statistics to share on the subject.
Is it cost?
As far as
is it speed?
Well, I think it's a combination of things that the main thing that came to my mind when you proposed that question was companies in high-risk industries will always use the path of least resistance.
Okay.
So where there's lighter regulation or lower taxes or other benefits that help them run their business more effectively, they will always shift and move to those locations. They will always find them.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Maggie, what's your view on the long-term viability of offshore licensing? Are the risks outweighing the benefits? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a super interesting one in the space. It's sort of a question we get a lot with clients that are at this conference and in this vertical more generally. We a lot of the time work with clients that are they're licensed in the UK. That's the market that I cover. But I think the benefit of being a very global brand as Visa is that we have the ability to work with clients that are onshore and offshore. And in the specific products that I work with and I sell, are able to give clients that potentially are offshore access to various markets. So the benefit of our platform is that we can open virtual accounts for our customers and their customers and give them access to a market where actually they have no footprint at all. So I would say for a client that maybe that isn't based in the UK but wants access to this market, definitely work with obviously a company like ours where we can give that really sort of robust that robust platform to allow someone to have that presence in a country that they aren't necessarily in. We offer accounts in the UK, the US, Canada, and the European Union, and we definitely see clients across the world accessing those markets through our platform, which is obviously really, really good to see.
Right, that's amazing. Thank you. And what specific operational bottlenecks have regulators created, particularly in onboarding and launching new services? From a point of view as a PSP, and I think one thing I've noticed is, especially when this regulations just come out of nowhere, if your compliance is not readily prepared, you tend to struggle for a bit before you get back up. How are PSPs hedging against this today to avoid loss and to also ensure reliability across markets? Does anyone want to take this?
Has a better idea.
Yeah, Anthony seems to have a grasp on this.
Yeah, well, again, it depends on your setup initially. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're talking about Visa, you're talking about global. If you're talking about people like companies like ourselves and even Corape that are multi-licensed, you wanna fit into the regulations that are being set by the regulator. So let's talk about onboarding, right, and the requirements. KYC requirements across different regions are different. Our local registration or our local regulator has specific needs, but we run a conglomerate, for instance. I want to say that because we cover multiple regions. So what we've done is running away from the manual onboarding process. The manual onboarding process has a lot of gaps here and there, right? And then it allows us, yes, some flexibility in the regions that have less regulation, but sometimes doesn't meet the regulations of the higher requirement jurisdictions. What about automation? Right? Automation where your automated onboarding process or onboarding platform has exactly what is required per region and ensures that each requirement that is demanded by the regulator is provided towards the acceptance of the merchant onto the system. So what we see, you can never get ahead of regulators. You can never say, I mean, I'm going to call them out, including Visa. You know, Visa. my friend, I mean, they're always creating new situations and asking for additional, depending on your maturity. And
You like it, really?
yeah, I love it. and to get there, I think a comprehensive onboarding process that is more automated than manual keeps you ahead of the game. Remember again, onboarding requirements and regulations do not just cover the demander. They also cover me, and they cover the client of the merchant. So I think creating a Bible that works best, and automating it.
Perfect.
I think that comes.
And there are certain things that sort of have to be automated.
Correct.
Like, for example, PEP screening,
Correct.
sanction screening.
Yes, world checks
Card
and all
schemes
that.
would like to have that on a daily basis to know that every
they
day
have a
you
lot
check
of
to see that they are
requirements.
not there.
Yeah, they have a lot of requirements. And just because of Visa, I think maybe don't get too many licenses, guys. because it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it is.
Trying to keep up. But I think eventually it keeps the system clean.
Yeah.
And we're all much better for it.
That's it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's good you actually mentioned automation, right? At Cora, we actually thought about this, especially for quite a number of our clients. We have a lot of brokers working with us today. And what we did is we built an API to also help identity verification and with the onboarding process across most of the regions which we work in. And we've seen it help. The risks have lowered, our regulators are happy, and of course it also makes us happy because it reduces the pressure on our compliance teams. I think I'm going to go into the next question, and which is going to most likely be our last today. What advice would you offer a PSP considering entering into 3 to 5 markets in 2025 and beyond, given the current global compliance landscape? Right? What compliance missteps would you warn against particularly? Because I mean, I think that's one thing everyone wants to know. Like, is it a tipping toe? What do you have? What do you know about this, Maggie?
I think it's a bit of a case of sort of build or buy.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into a market yourself, get boots on the ground, build everything from the ground up, or do you want to, maybe operate under someone else's license for a little while, and kind of get an out-of-the-box solution? I think that's for each business individually to decide on. I think, I suppose the advice would be sort of, don't move too quickly. That you see so many companies expand very, very fast across multiple jurisdictions, and actually they find one or two tend to be more lucrative. So I think it's just all about those kind of strategic reviews of where do you want to be based, where's the best market for you, do you have a really good understanding of what that market is, do you have those language skills for your sales team to actually go out and go to market with your product. So yeah, that would be my advice, kind of think about the strategy behind how you're going to expand and don't do it.
Tim, what do you think about this?
I agree 100%. She stole my answer. Being prepared and as Anthony was saying before, be compliance forward, be always thinking about what's going to be coming next and what can I do to prepare, but also not going into places blind and having some understanding of the market. Why are you going there? Who are your customers that you're going to serve from there, and do you have the resources to support it? So I think that's the main thing.
Yeah. Anthony?
My advice to PSPs is don't be seduced by speed.
Yeah.
Don't be seduced by, I'll get this license in a month.
Right.
I believe that first understanding the regulation of the land, the laws, are you able to fit into it? Are you able to run global transactions through that country? And if I'm ready to run transactions through that country, am I able to expatriate my resources in terms of merchant settlement and shareholder profit sharing? Number 3, I want to understand, do I have the local resources in country that speak that regulatory language? Am I able to run it as a local business? Will I be able to run with the compliance as is expected? Number 4, and I think this is most important, is what gap do my services fill? Right? Am I going into a country just because I have the expansion capability? Or am I going to answer a specific question that the industry is asking or the economy is asking? So I think that you must balance the speed of acceptance with your regulatory capacity. You must be able to answer a specific question in the market. And then you must always, and I'll insist, because maybe we are giving advice to PSPs that want to do it, you must be compliance forward. You must speak that language locally.
Yeah.
You understand? And be able to anticipate any changes that the regulator may have. And also, would you be able to harmonize your group policies into the local policy requirements? That's what I would say to them.
Yeah. Just before we close out, what's your view on entering into a market, particularly for maybe one of your top clients? How do you measure the ROI, especially when you don't really understand the local landscape? Would you still go into business, into those markets, just to make your client happy? What do you think about that?
Can I go first?
Of course, Anthony.
No, I would not.
Okay.
I would not advise. I don't know about you guys, but I would not advise a single client expansion strategy. Number 1, majority of our clients are multi-serviced, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to place all your expectations on one client. And you've not done enough market survey and market expansion reviews to understand what intrinsic benefit you'll get if that merchant doesn't exist or that individual client leaves you. You'll be left holding on to, an empty bag of balls. But, footballs, But I think that strategy must be universal. It must cover a critical mass that would allow you to expand, because then you have shareholders and stakeholders who you must justify your investment in terms of expansion.
Yeah, I would add that if it's a single client, I agree 100%. If you have research that shows you have a significant number of your clients in a particular region and you want to have a closer relationship with them, then it might make sense. But again, I agree, do your due diligence, find out how you're going to perform there. Are there other opportunities that you can chase if that falls through or something else changes? And are you able to be compliant locally?
Correct.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I think we've had such an amazing session today. Does anyone in the crowd have any questions for us today?
Oh, wow.
Hi, gentleman over there. Let's start by you.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Oyin Dolapo. I work with Korape. I work out of the African expansion team. Mine is more of a contribution as well to what Anthony was saying earlier. I think when you're also expanding, you also want to take into consideration the culture of the markets that you're going into. I think one of the interesting things that I found is that sometimes you get into the market and your problem, you always will have the challenges with the regulators because it's a new thing you're trying to understand. But then things work differently in different markets. People see work differently as well. So, and then you would have to hire at some point. So you want to understand what the people see as work-life balance, what the people see as responsible work ethic and things like that. Because I have found that sometimes companies run into problems not because they are not compliant with the laws, but because the people do not feel like they are treating them well. And if the people on ground who understand how the market works don't feel like they are being treated well by the company just because you are importing a culture that is alien to them, then you also will run into problems. So expansion has to be, a 360 view. You are looking at the compliance, the laws, and the culture as well. I think that really helps.
Perfect. Does anyone else have a question? Jen, lady.
Thank you very much. My name is I also work in Cora. I lead the inbound sales team there. So I have a question somehow related to sales. Yeah. So have you? It's for any of you. Have you had to walk away from high potential deals because of regulatory complexities? And if yes, how do you manage those trade-offs?
Yeah, I can take that one. So I work with a lot of unregulated clients, and it's always really frustrating as a salesperson where, it seems like absolutely something you can sell. It seems like a good product market fit, but actually when it comes down to it, potentially like the flow of funds or something the client's doing quite specifically is outside of your risk appetite. What I would say is I think it's really important as a salesperson to work cross-functionally with your compliance team. So just make sure that you're in lockstep every step of the way. You understand really deeply what the compliance team is thinking and feeling when they're looking at a client. And as a salesperson, I think there's sort of a natural to and fro to it. You do want to push sometimes, but I think you want to make sure that you maintain a strong relationship with your compliance team so that when you do take the opportunity to push back, they listen to you and they kind of respect what you're saying. So I think there are salespeople where they'll push on every single door, and actually you want to kind of pick and choose your battles sometimes. That's my kind of experience, I would say.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Sorry, final question from me.
I've
been raising my hand since. Hi, everyone. My name is Jemima. I don't work at Korapi. I work at FinCra, cross-border payment infrastructure. I have two questions, so anybody can take it. It's a really quick one. So the first one is on balancing compliance and innovation, right? Anybody can take this. How do you think that PSSPs can ensure compliance without hindering their innovation, right? And, not impacting the quality of their service. And then the second question is just something Anthony mentioned about onboarding, automated onboarding, right? What role do you think AI can play in automated onboarding, KYC, and just helping, PSSPs and businesses move forward? Two questions. That's it. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Why is it right?
He's had a lot of takes today.
Sorry, I lost my mic. I want to go from 2 to 1 because I have short-term memory issues. Automation, from the onboarding perspective, will benefit very highly from machine learning and AI, because then it's able to project that which may miss from the beginning. And once you include them, and inculcate as well the capabilities of the technologies that you've built around your exact onboarding process, then it becomes a benefit, an added benefit that allows us to sleep more, because we are covered from a global perspective. That's question number 2. Question number 1, which was about innovation.
Regulation.
Yes. I like to think that your innovation must look at the end from the beginning. And when you have this view of what you want to end up with, one of the things you must consider while innovating, when ideating, in fact, is how you'll fit it into the compliance landscape that you're in, right? Sometimes, and this is for techies, sometimes techies want to jump from step to step, creating that which they think will sell. But if you go through the SDLC properly and ideate with the end in mind, it'll not stop you, actually. It'll strengthen your innovation because you are able to plug it into the landscape of compliance that you want to work within. And that's just my perspective. I don't know if my fellow panelists have a different view.
Payouts.
Like payouts, yes. We wanna offer all our merchants the OCT, right? How do we want to do it? Who do we want to do it with, and how can Visa assist us outside of big stick mentality? So when you're creating your payout APIs, and our chief tech is here, is as we look towards consuming that product, as we are innovating towards that end, there are a number of compliance things that we must do in the middle. So in the SDLC, we will plug in all the compliances, and might take a bit longer to fit in, yeah? But by the time you're going live, you have a bit of comfort. When you're doing your sanity test and all that, it is justified because you have you have fit into the end that you saw from the beginning. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we're out of time.
All right. Thank you so much. It's been a great session with all of you. And do have a lovely day, everybody.
Well done.